Alright guys, it is time to talk about the Gerber Flatiron. Oh boy, here we go. This is a massive, massive disappointment, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know already if you've had this knife. I've talked to just a very few. When I say very few, I mean like two people I think who have one of these and loves them, you know, but I have a bunch of problems with it. So here's the story behind the Gerber Flatiron for me. I did a video on a different cleaver style knife, and I mentioned that I like the idea of a cleaver, you know, folder. It's kind of cool, something different. This was back, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, something like that. And I had a bunch of people tell me, you know, hey, if you like cleaver style knives, check out the Gerber Flatiron. So I said, all right, cool. Hello, Google. What's a Gerber Flatiron look like, right? So I saw a picture, fell in love with it. I mean, it's a nice looking knife. I love the frame lock. I absolutely love the stonewash finish they put on this knife. Very cool. So I knew I wanted to try one. Put the word out, I wanted to try one in trade. I got bombarded. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. 50 or more people right away contacted me and said, hey, I got a Flatiron, what do you want to trade for it? So that was like a huge red flag. Why are there so many people who want to get rid of this knife, right? I thought it would be cool. I thought it was good. No one wants theirs. So I very quickly received it in trade, got it in hand. Soon after, happened to get a second one in a battle box, which is kind of funny. If I just waited, I would have got it in the battle box. But the second I you know, tried to open it is where things went downhill. So if you don't own one of these, the biggest problems just right out of the gate is it is very difficult to open. There's a very heavy detent on here, and normally that wouldn't be that big of a deal. If this was a flipper or maybe had a big old thumb stud or something, it would open pretty easily. If you notice, when I first opened the knife in the video, I used two hands because that's how I'm comfortable opening this. They have an opening slot here, okay? It's the only way to open it with one hand. I suppose actually you can grab the blade here and push away. I actually am just realizing this now. I've done this with some other knives before, but that's not that convenient. All right, to do somewhat of a, you know, spidey drop type maneuver just because there's so much blade here to hang on to. I guess that is the most comfortable way, to be honest, one-handed, is just hold the blade, push away with your other fingers, right, to get that initiated. You could move it around and do one of those, but anyway, how I've been using it for the last couple months on and off is with two hands, because this opening slot, it's almost impossible to use just your thumb. It's just where it is, the strength of the detent, all these different, you know, things that, you know, come together that create this horrible, uncomfortable opening. It's like impossible. What I did do a couple times was the old pinch grip thing. I've talked about this before. Use your middle finger and your thumb and kind of use your other fingers to push the frame against your hand and then push that away. And then maybe sometimes, there we go. That hurt very badly. Okay, that was extremely uncomfortable on my fingertips to do that. So, you know, that's obviously not something that you would like. The two people who do actually like this, who I've talked to, they didn't mention that it's hard to open. I didn't mention it back either. They just said they like them. Who knows, maybe they are opening them with two hands. But yeah, I mean, right off the bat, that's a red flag. I would never ever suggest this for an EDC knife, just because I feel like an EDC knife, it should be relatively easy to open in one hand if need be. That being said, there's plenty of people who like slip joints, including myself. But you know, when you have a slip joint, it's pretty much a given that you're using two hands. You've already made that, you know, that decision or choice that it's not going to be easy to manipulate with one hand open. So anyway, right off the bat, I mean, that was a killer for me, absolute killer. However, it didn't really end there. I gripped the knife, and this one has the aluminum scales. Okay, it's a dark gray aluminum. All right, this was also offered in a G10 version. These sell for $29, like 28 and change with the aluminum. I think it's like 33 or 34, something like that. A couple extra bucks for a tan G10 scale. Okay, a textured scale. I actually would think the aluminum would be a little bit more expensive, but that turns out to be the cheaper one. The aluminum itself is fine, and I imagine the G10 scale would be fine too. It just happens to have grip, so it's a preference thing. Do you want the smooth knife or do you want the grippy knife? So I have no problem with that either way. It's the frame lock side. So no matter what scale you have, it wouldn't be affected by this issue that I have. The frame lock here, it looks really nice. Again, I absolutely love the stonewash finish. It's like a super heavy stonewash. I would love this on a bunch of different knives. There's even a stop pin there, or over travel lock bar stabilizer, whatever you want to call it. There's a bunch of different names for it, right? That keeps this from overextending, which is not going to happen because it's incredibly hard to push this. That's another gripe, is that just again, because of materials and the cutout and the design, it's difficult to unlock. There's my thumb. There is grip there, which is definitely needed. So it's not like it should have been smooth, because if it was smooth, I would have slipped off. So it takes a lot of pressure to unlock it. Also, when I'm just holding it here, this, not really a finger troll, it's just a slight curvature there. It's kind of a sharp edge. It's not physically sharp if I rub it with my other finger like this, but just in gripping it, it's a little bit of a hot spot there. That's not cool. So this brings me, it locks up great. I will give it that. There is no blade play. I do love the way it looks and everything, but no, we're not done yet. So let's close this knife and go over to the pocket clip. When I saw this, I loved it. It's cool, it's different. It's a little chody, stubby little pocket clip. I think it's really cool, just short and wide. But then I used it, okay? And this thing is tighter than a snake's cooter. Like if you think cold steel has tight pocket clips, you'd be shocked at just how stiff this clip is and how much little give there is. Once you do kind of, again, I have to use the tip of my finger or fingernail to get this started in the pants. It is a chore to put this knife away. And in EDCing this, I take it out and I use two hands to open it, which I don't want to do. And then I make my cuts. I'm happy making the cuts. The performance is fine. The steel is extremely soft, so it did dull out in use. They're using a 7CR17 MOV. But hey, that's an aside. I don't even care about the steel at this point because I have so many other complaints. So, I use the knife. I go to close it. My thumb already is a little irritated from the lock bar, right? And when I go to put it back in my pocket, it's like I can't. It's a 30 second to a minute ordeal to try to get this pocket clip up and over, the pocket. And man, what a hassle. What a hassle. So let's get back to the blade here. This is a cleaver style. It's hollow grounds, which is very nice. You can see that from the top here, just like you'd have a razor blade or something like that. I love it. I love the grind. I love the blade. I like the looks. And again, I absolutely love, it's like glass-like finish on this, stonewash. Super, super nice. Now the 7CR17 MOV, yeah, it's a very soft steel and it does dull out. Now, one thing, a couple people had mentioned when I was talking about cleaver style or razor style blades is there's no point. And there is. It's this right here. It's a point. It's just a very wide point. Okay. So looking at this, you might think, yeah, there's no point to this knife. Not in general, there's no point in buying it, which I do believe at this point. But anyway, what I mean is literally there's no point, but there is. And I did in fact use that. I used that to pierce boxes. It worked totally fine. It's pointy enough to do pointy tasks, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's not an issue. It's not the design overall, it's an issue. It's all these little gripes that make this probably the most uncomfortable folder in the world. I mean it. I've had so many different knives and there's been a lot of discomfort here and there. A pocket clip, a deep carry conceal clip that's poking my hand here, or a really, sharp thumb stud, like the Kershaw Vapor. That stands out as the most uncomfortable thumb stud on any knife ever, if you happen to ever own a Kershaw Vapor from the 90s. So I've had a lot of uncomfortable folders, but it was always like one thing, maybe two things. This has multiple things that I just can't stand. And it stinks because I like the design. I really do like the design. It's also chunky. With the aluminum handle, it is 5.6 ounces. All right, so it's a chubby, it's an all metal knife. All right, you can see it's an open back design. There's 3 standoffs here. All right, there's no lanyard hole or anything, in case you do like your lanyards. If you could see the blade ends here. I suppose if you wanted to, you could use this last standoff, as a place to put a lanyard. I just wouldn't, because even though when you're using it, it'll be dangling, when you're not using it, it's clipped inside the pocket, which, by the way, tip up right side if you didn't already notice, not swappable. The lanyard could move around and eventually rub on that tip and, and cut itself off eventually. But I don't think it would take that long because you're probably not going to carry this that long anyway. So who knows, maybe it wouldn't cut off because it's probably going to be sitting in your drawer and not in your pocket. So like if you give this to a non-knife person, they'd probably like it. Just flat out. Oh, cool. Cool. This is a nice knife. This is sturdy, you know, it's heavy, it's chunky, it's sharp. It's cool looking. You know, locks up good. You know, that's what non-knife people would see in this knife. But you guys are knife people, right? Come on. At this point, if you're watching my videos, you're a knife person. So all these little gripes, they do matter. Choking up, it's a little bit more comfortable putting my middle finger around here, but normally I'm not choking up, you know, real tight on things. I'm just opening the knife and using grips like that. And that's where that is uncomfortable there. But it really stinks. I like the way it looks, but that's really where it falls. Uncomfortable to unlock, uncomfortable to open, uncomfortable to clip inside my pocket. I mean, it's too much uncomfortable. It's really unfortunate. Like I said, I mean, discovering this thing, that doesn't really change much for me in my opinions, because I don't want to have to do that every time. All right, so you can see, I mean, I can open it like that, right? One hand manipulation I'm talking about. Open it like that. Even if I flip this down, as you saw, every time I have to kind of throw it up in the air and grab the handle. What happens the one time I don't do that right and it slips and then just lays my fingers open, you know? I mean, the off chance that the 7CR17 MOV is still sharp. So even though you have a soft steel, you know, I like to keep things sharp. So it's very possible. It's not something I like to do. I would end up, as I did, just opening it with two hands every single time. So, yeah, I mean, you see blade centering's nice, but who cares, right? Because no one's going to carry this knife. At least for an extended period of time, if you have experience with other knives. I can't tell you how disappointed I am because I really, really was excited about this knife. I was so excited. And literally within minutes of having it, I'm just like, oh, man, not good. And I gave it a lot of shot. I mean, I carry this a bunch since having it. I've used it around the house a bunch. I thought maybe it's something I would adjust to, or maybe just change my grip a little bit, or just do this, just do that. And no, none of it was enough. It's just so uncomfortable, and it's such a shame. It's super, super cool. I do like it, but I would never recommend this for an EDC knife. You know what this knife is? This is a toolbox knife, okay? This is a knife you throw in the toolbox or the junk drawer, and when you do need it, you're home, you have probably the capability of opening it with two hands. Once it's open, it's fine. Maybe with gloves on, it wouldn't be that big of a deal to use. You make your couple cuts. Obviously, you still have to maintain the edge because it is a softer steel. You know, and putting it away, you're done. You don't have to worry about the pocket clip because you're not going to be clipping it to anything. And yeah, toolbox knife. That's where I would put this if it was a keeper. So there you go. Those are my opinions on this knife. I know a lot of people out there agree, just because so many people were basically trying to give me this knife. You know what I mean? Even after I got my my trade done and I had one, I still had messages trickling in every now and again, like, hey, I got a flat iron. I'm not really into it. You could just have it. I'm like, thank you so much, but you know, I already got one. And I know why you're trying to give it to me. So yeah, if you guys are flat iron owners, let me know what you think. You know, I don't think the G10 version is going to make any difference whatsoever because it's literally just a different slab on top, and I have no issues with the aluminum scale. That's totally fine. It's actually a really nice matte finish. You know, just, I mean, closed, it's awesome. It's just once you start using it is where all the problems come in. So anyway, as my dad likes to say, it is what it is, right? And that's what it is. That's my experience anyway. If you have a different experience and you absolutely love the Gerber Flatiron, please, in the comments down below, let me know, you know, the issues I'm having. Am I doing something wrong? I mean, you know, I'm just opening a knife and using it. But obviously, like something like the pocket clip, sure, you can bend it out a little bit. That would help that. But, you know, when I talk about a knife, I'm talking about how you get them. I wouldn't expect anyone to buy a brand new product, knives or anything else, and have to modify it out of the box. So that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow with another video. Take care.